Really appreciate you hopping on to dive into your experiences as of late and also to help better inform people about what's truly going on in the Middle East, Iran specifically, and so on and so forth. We've been discussing this for a while, so I'm really excited about bringing you into the frame, giving you a platform to talk about these things, and also, once again, to help people better understand what's actually going on and what it was like to experience the 12-day war in Iran. So I'll let you kind of kick things off, maybe give a little bit of background, introduction on yourself, and then we'll proceed from there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we have been talking about it for a while. One of my friends I was here joked that I'm a refugee, and I looked up the definition of refugee, and it's like, oh, well, shoot, I actually do classify as one if I wanted to be, and that's because, like you said, I was in Iran during the 12-day war, um, and uh, while yeah, there's some scary points to it. Obviously, you got missiles flying, you got drones and jets and whatnot, but I also lived in Iran during the Iran-Iraq War, which, as a child, was far more traumatic, I guess, than the 12 days that just happened in June.
Right.
Yeah, but overall, it was kind of a surreal experience. I mean, my house there is on the foothills of the mountain in northern Tehran, and so I had a panoramic view of just about everything.
Right.
And I mean, it was interesting. I can't say it was cool, but it was definitely interesting.
What is it?
Um,
So we've talked a lot about the culture and the history of Iran as it relates to this conflict. And so for those that are listening, if you could give just a little bit of a background and a little bit of an understanding of uh, not just this particular instance. Obviously, Israel and Iran have been going back and forth for a very long time, and things have obviously escalated a lot more as of late into now Israel finally firing on into Iranian territory. But I think a lot of people, when they think of Iran, they don't really fully understand the cultural landscape of Iran. So if you can kind of give a better understanding of the history and the cultural landscape and what it's like to live there, so it can really humanize this experience, I think that's super important for a lot of the folks that are listening.
I think, well, the biggest misconception is that Iran is not an Arab country. And it's like something I saw on Instagram. Um, just because of the association that it's an Islamic country doesn't necessarily mean it's an Arab country. And like the video I think I sent you, it's like, okay, France and Germany are the same country because they're both Christian countries.
Right.
So they're not. So ethnically, it's different. Linguistically, um, Farsi or Persian is an Indo-European language, whereas Arabic and Jewish or Hebrew are Semitic languages. So Arabs and Jews actually have a language root connection, whereas Farsi and Persian doesn't to either one of them.
Right.
Um, and I mean, uh, but I want to kind of, and this is a touchy subject, but you got Iran as its own identity, and then you have like the Islamic Republic of Iran, which is the regime and the government. A lot of people that I've seen, especially on social media, refer to when they're talking about Iran, uh, and they're saying Iran itself, they're talking about the land of Iran, right? Not like the government or the regime. So
Right.
when they want to like pick out the regime, they say the Islamic Republic. And so a lot of opposition, like regime opposition figures, have started using this. Um, but I mean, I say Iran just because it's easier. But I mean, the conflict has been brewing for 46, 47 years since essentially the monarchy in Iran got overthrown by the Islamic Republic in 1979. Prior to that, Iran had really good relations with Israel. They had an embassy there, um, and especially with the United States until The like, Islamic students, Islamic militia students, uh, breached the U.S. embassy and took hostages for I think 388 days or something like that.
Right.
So this animosity, I mean, in our lifetimes, yeah, it's been my entire lifetime. But traditionally, if you go back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, there wasn't animosity. If anything, there was animosity between Iran and its Arab neighbors, not Iran and the U.S. and Israel.
Right. And Iran and the U.S. have a lot to gain from a partnership in general, right? A peaceful partnership and peaceful relationship. So
Absolutely.
that oftentimes nobody really discusses that, and I think that's one of the most frustrating things when you think about what could come of a true relationship between the U.S. and Iran, what it could look like. So can we dive into that for a second? Kind of explain why that would be advantageous for obviously for both countries to have a truly
I
peaceful
mean,
relationship.
yeah, I mean that would be insane because it would just open up the largest market in the world, 92 million people. Um, I mean, right before, I mean, it's basically got to look at what happened like with Vietnam to do a comparative analysis. When we opened up with Vietnam, I don't have the population, but at the time, it was the largest uh, population that was closed off to trade.
Right.
Right now, Iran is with 92 million people, and I mean, to have a peaceful Iran that's not threatening its neighbors and neighbors not threatening Iran and just trading would be beneficial to just everyone across the world.
Right.
You have in Iran, you have the second largest natural gas reserves in the world and the fourth largest oil reserves in the world. Um, I think I read somewhere it has the sixth largest coastline in the world. Um, so, I mean, it's a resource rich country.
I think to a certain degree, we already had this conversation about keeping certain things pretty high level in this conversation and
Yeah.
being as honest as we possibly can about the situation, without diving too far into personal opinions on certain
Mm-hmm.
items and topics. But as it relates to obviously the U.S. then deciding to get involved in Iran recently, this once again might go a little bit too far. But in
Right.
regards to the U.S. deciding to get involved in Iran recently, how did that impact the feelings and emotions of the majority of Iranians? Right, live on the ground. There's a lot of different opinions
Mm-hmm.
of the U.S. in Iran.
Yeah.
Seems to be from what my research is, from what I've heard, from what I've delved into, that the majority of Iranians are actually pro America, but that's not what is shared the vast majority of the time online. So what was the general feeling from the majority of the citizens after the US decided to get involved in this conflict
I mean, okay, so
directly?
I, I can't give an opinion on the opinions of 92 million people.
Yep.
But I mean, I can say like, um, so, and this is strictly non-scientific opinion, right? Because we have to realize that Tehran itself has a population of anywhere from 12 to 15 million people, right? So when the bombs started flying on June 13th, right? And it was Friday the 13th because I was supposed to leave that day and I
That
canceled
would
my
make
flight.
sense. Understandable.
Yeah. Well, I canceled it because of the Friday the 13th part.
That's a
But
good idea.
yeah, I mean, I was like, Friday the 13th, I don't really want to be flying. There's 2 days you don't want to fly. Friday the 13th and September 11th. Those two are the days that just, those are no fly days.
Yeah.
um, but, um, but so June 13th happened. Um, and I believe both Israel and um, the regime told people to evacuate Tehran, right? At this point, uh, still had access to social media, still had access to the internet, so I could see what was happening. So a lot of things online with the opposition parties, the monarchy and whatnot. Um, Obviously, they're very pro-Israeli strikes, very, they're trying to, advocate people going to the streets to topple the regime. But you had a mass exodus. So about June 14th or 15th, I think it was that Sunday or Monday. Um, and one keynote, in Iran, Thursdays and Fridays are the equivalent of Saturdays and Sundays. So when the strikes happened on Friday the 13th, everyone was home. There was like no one on the streets really. It was like just a Sunday. Um, so online, everyone was cheering. Um, and on the streets, generally people were really scared. I remember not that Friday, but on the 14th or 15th, I was going down to see my dad, and you got a sense of it was like eerie. It was like the streets were just empty. Um, to give an example, like from my place to my dad's place, on a normal day, non uh, rush hour, it would take me 50 to 60 minutes to get to my dad. I got to my dad's house in 17 minutes.
Wow.
Right. I mean, it was just eerily empty. And this was like people at home. People just stayed at home. Um, and and then when the orders came to like evacuate, I mean, everyone evacuated. I've never seen anything like that. I mean, you and I like knowing like in Charleston when there's a hurricane coming, and they're like, oh well, the hurricane's coming in 5 days, so people just gradually leave. I mean, sometimes there's a cluster and everyone leaves at the same time, but generally, like you got a soft exodus, right? This was like a very hard, like 15 to 20 hour exodus. I mean, it was just absolutely pandemonium. Like, um, so if you look at the geography of Tehran, you're going to notice the Alborz Mountains. Um, so inside those mountains, or on the roads or whatever, there's a lot of these like little villages that people go to like on Thursdays and Fridays just to go by sit by a river or the villa. Some people have villas there. It usually only takes about an hour, and my friends were in traffic for like 13, 14 hours. Like that's the scope of the exodus. It was insane.
Where were the majority of people going? Was it more of just a get out of Tehran and just figure it out along the way, or did the majority of the people have another location or another? Is there another bigger city nearby they were planning on going to?
So Iranians are very, very family oriented. And for me, it was, to be honest, it was a little bit hard to understand how, like, let's say you have one uncle that has like a villa in these mountains or to the west or east of Tehran. And all of a sudden you had families of like 20, 30 people huddling at the uncle's house. And whether it doesn't matter if like you're a man, a woman, they just left, right? And and yeah, it was just weird. I mean, I stayed.
Which we'll get
Mainly
into
so I
here in a
can.
minute.
Yeah, I'll get into that one too. But no, I mean, everyone just went to their family's house for like 9, 10 days.
Right.
And I mean, we're talking about 6-month-old like living with their 90-year-old grandfathers. Like, I mean, some of the scenes my friends were describing was just like I would much rather be here. And then I mean, just also think about the logistics, right? So let's say these mountains, right? So one in particular is it's called Megun, right? And again, it's like an hour and 15 minutes from Tehran. Well, it's a village, right? It doesn't have the capacity to hold a million people, right? It doesn't have the food capacity, it doesn't have the water capacity, it doesn't have the electric capacity. So all these guys fled the war, right? Only to get stuck in places with no water, right? Or no electricity. So whenever anyone would call me, it's like, oh, what are you doing? It's like, oh, I'm in Tehran, taking a shower with electricity.
I don't know that anything can prepare you for a situation like that. But the pictures you sent over were just a bunch of canned goods and
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I've got about 14, 15 days worth of food. Hopefully this lasts me."
Yeah.
And obviously the period lasted for 12 days,
Yeah.
and then you were able to get out after that. The the videos you took while from your balcony and then share during your time there, I think gave me a much better understanding of uh obviously your proximity to everything.
Mm.
And Tehran's obviously a very big city, but when your city is being bombed, it's it doesn't matter how big the city is, right? It's all right there. And I think it also kind of brought into it gave me a better understanding too of what that's maybe like when your friends are there and or loved ones, and our obviously our friendship goes way back, and so the entire time I'm thinking, okay, this is not just a conflict in another country, this is now a conflict with people that I care about. And so it changes everything dramatically at that point. So with you obviously being there and having family there, and truly having loved ones in that direct vicinity, what was it like trying to move, family members around and truly protect them, but also maybe simultaneously feeling kind of helpless at the same time?
Um, I mean, to be honest, my only family member there is my dad. I mean, I have aunts and uncles, but I I haven't seen them in years. I'm just there for my dad.
Yep.
So I mean, that was my first priority, was to make sure he was all right. And he has a caregiver, so I had to make sure she was comfortable and they had everything. So yeah, I went in and bought some you know some dried beans, and just something that had a longer shelf life. No cans because my dad doesn't eat canned food. But just
That's probably why
lentils
he's
and
living so,
whatever.
so long. It's because he doesn't eat canned
Yeah,
food.
maybe, maybe, but but yeah. I mean, during the first couple of days, so I would say that for the first 5 days or so, um, I did go see him, or actually maybe longer. No, for the first like 6 or 6, let's just say a week, right? For the first like week, I would go down and see him, and yeah, sure, it was kind of weird because like I'd be on one highway going down, and everything's fine, and on the way back up, all of a sudden you see a plume of smoke, right? Um, and I mean that was kind of interesting to experience. I never got close enough to anything. I mean, um, my neighborhood did get bombed, um, but in terms of like moving my dad around, uh, he he just didn't want to go,
Yeah.
like flat out. He's just like, I want to stay here. Which in hindsight, I'm glad I kind of trusted his instinct, because I mean he's 95 years old. He would have gone batshit crazy if he was stuck in traffic for 18 hours going to the Caspian Sea. Like it just wouldn't have been fun for him at all. So it's like he just, I mean, so he has hearing aids. So I remember, one day I'm there and I'm just like giving him the one last thing. I'm like, hey, do you either want to come to my house or do you want to go like to the Caspian? And he's like, no. And then just a couple of blocks away, as we're having this conversation, a missile strike, right? So I'm like, oh, that was close. And then the house kind of shook. Um, so my dad was like, "What was that?" I'm like, "Oh, it was a bomb." And then he's like, "Oh, where?" So he came by the window to look at the plume of smoke, and then he's like, "Okay." I'm like, "Are you sure you want to stay?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay, can we keep the curtains closed at least, like just in case?" And then he's like, "No, I like the curtains open." So I was like, all right, he's stubborn, obviously, right?
Right.
And I'm like, okay, but you're gonna, hear things. And then he's like, not if I don't have these. And he just takes his hearing aids off, turns on, put them on the table, and I'm like, okay. So I look at the caregiver, and I'm like,
That's
are you okay? Yeah. And I was like, are you okay being here? Like, I mean, obviously, your mom and dad are worried about you. She's like, "Yeah, it's fine." And I was like, "All right, got cool customers. That's fine." So I just went down to the shop and I bought some tape, and I just kind of taped his windows, and that was it. Like, and I told him specifically, I'm like, I'm not coming back for a couple of days. And he was like, "Okay, have fun, be safe."
It is
That was it.
it is strange to me how nonchalant you kind of were through all of this.
Yeah.
And I know there was a period where it seemed like you were quite on edge when we first started talking and things were
Mm.
heating up. But then it's you were taking videos, you're taping windows for your dad, but it almost seems like people, I say people in the region, I don't know. Once say this is I have no idea what it is, but it almost seems like we've become desensitized to these things now. And maybe it's because it we've seen it online so much, but do you think it's more so that or that things people have experienced these things and so they're just kind of like, well, it is what it is? What do you think that is? And because I the whole desensitizing side of things too. I feel like we see so much online nowadays, especially like the whole Ukraine Russia situation more recently, and then shifting into Gaza, and now shifting into this conflict. That it almost seems as though when it occurs, people just are like, it is what it is. So was that your approach to it, or do you think it was something completely different?
I mean, it had several levels to it. In the first couple of days, like you said, I was kind of on edge, um, and because I mean, bombs flying. I mean, you're seeing buildings explode,
Right.
right? So right in front of you, and so there's a couple of. I mean, I'm generally a very calm person. I think my stress tolerance is pretty high. I don't really get rattled, but but yeah, the first couple of days was kind of hairy, and I remember um, I was with my lawyer and my friend, and we had to drop the lawyer off at a government building, and that's when I was just like, "Oh, I don't think we should be around here. Like, we should leave, right?" And sure enough, 4 hours later, like the building next to where we were exploded, right?
Wasn't that the
So
broadcasting?
no, that was later.
Okay.
But so that was just like, so I just called my lawyer. I'm like, dude, like, don't go into. I mean, he's my friend too now. So I'm like, just don't go into government buildings. Just maybe just stop working for a week, right? So that was one thing, and then there was one incident. There's one missile strike that actually did kill some civilians in Tidrish, and I use that intersection at least 4 times a day. Right? I did not know there was an IRGC district headquarters there. I had absolutely no idea. Right? No one knew. But I mean, that's what Israel targeted, and it hit that target so precisely that the two buildings side by side only had blown windows. Right? But that strike also killed, I think, 30, 35 innocent people. Um, and it hit a massive water pipe. So that district didn't have water for like 3 or 4 days.
I saw
Um,
videos of like flooding in that area due to the water pipe.
yeah, yeah, that was it. And so right then I kind of just realized one, also obviously timing, but two, um, maybe it's like they're being so precise that I wasn't too worried in a sense. That's why I think when I became calmer because I mean my neighbors are regular people. They're not government officials. They're not military officials. Um, and that's kind of when I decided when I leaned on just okay, I'm probably just not going to leave the house for the
Right.
next couple of days. And then about a day after that, I started seeing the Islamic militia, the Basij, were doing checkpoints all over Tehran. looking for spies, looking for anything. And I mean, I'm not a spy, I'm a regular guy, but when I started checkpoints going up, and I mean, I don't know, maybe like one of these Islamic militia guys is a high commander and Israel has a drone overhead. I don't want to be stuck in a checkpoint.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it wasn't necessarily what the Islamic militia were doing, but I just didn't want to be around anything military related. Um, to the point of like, yeah, I didn't want to be around trucks, um, anything that could possibly be a target. So that's when I just decided I'm just going to stay home um, and play with the street cats.
The best thing to do during war.
Yeah, I'll go feed them. I mean, those poor guys had to eat too.
Yeah. You mentioned the precise nature of the Israeli bombings. And
Mhm.
this, once again, I trying to better understand how precise they actually are versus when you're not there, right? Is very difficult when you read and you see these things online and you try to think to yourself, okay, I like to think that these bombings are going to be incredibly precise so that they avoid killing as many citizens as possible. But unfortunately, people do die in conflict. But you mentioned the precise nature of their strikes. Can we talk to that a little bit more, just so people understand how precise they were, and also why it's maybe frustrating for people to see everything online as it relates to Gaza
Right.
and see completely flattened cities,
Mm.
but also realize that the capabilities of the Israeli military give them the ability to precisely strike certain buildings and have very few casualties in a country with 90 plus million people, but then completely decimate entire cities and leave no buildings standing in other conflicts.
Yeah. So to answer your original question too, I do think like we've lost a little sensitivity because of online stuff. I mean, look at like mass shootings in the US.
Yep.
I mean, they're not even headline news anymore. It's like they're when you're scrolling, it's like somewhere on the bottom, oh, 6 people got shot, whatever. So it's like you don't even click on it anymore. So that aspect of it is, I mean, I wish humans weren't like that, but we are. Um, I mean, even back home, like I don't know, floods happened in Texas. Like what was that, 2 weeks ago? It was on the news for, and how many people died? Like what, 150 people
Oh, I
drowned or
mean,
something?
yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was over 100.
Yeah. And I mean, that's devastating. That's 150 souls that are gone.
Yeah.
And it was on the news for maybe 24 hours. That was it. So I do think the media is definitely to blame for affecting us in some way. Um, but
Aren't we also kind of to blame for falling into the trap and doom scrolling for hours on end that leads
sure.
to the removal of the sensitivity for these particular
Yeah.
subjects and topics? I think that's
Oh,
that's
there's
kind of like there's like
that.
a personal part of it, but also it's we've been presented with this technology and it's led us down this
This road.
unfortunate path.
Yeah, no, that has something to do with it. But okay, in terms of like Gaza and comparing it to Iran or even like Russia and Ukraine, right? I mean, what Russia is, I have Ukrainian friends in Kiev, right, in the southern part of the country, and I mean they go into bomb shelters, right, because Russia indiscriminately will hit a residential tower, right? Um, just I mean they send in these Iranian made drones indiscriminately hitting residential buildings, whereas Ukraine hasn't done that to Russia. They hit oil facilities, military bases. That's the way they've done it. So I think um, I don't know the reasons for it. I can have an opinion. And with Gaza and Iran, the difference is I think and for the record, I would like to say that I do think um, uh, Israel has committed uh, war against humanity. You could possibly even look into genocide for starving people. I definitely think it should be investigated into the handling of that conflict. You got 60, 70,000 innocent people that are dead. I think I read like there's a child dying every hour from starvation or something. I mean, that's not cool. That should definitely be
Terrible.
investigated. But in terms of Iran, it was when I noticed that they're strictly at least doing their best to only hit military assets and or government assets. Um, and when they hit like the central TV station, I mean, one of their commanders that could speak fluent Farsi better than me, they went online and said, "Hey, if you're in District Two, get out." Right? And I mean, I can see District Two from my balcony, right? So I'm like, "Oh, they're going after the TV building, right? The TV and radio building." Sure enough, like an hour later,
Right.
and it was so precise that when the broadcaster was doing her, I don't know, 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. Spiel, I mean, her studio was gone. She was live on air, but she didn't die. Right. I mean, that's how precise it was. So in that sense, I was like, all right, well, I mean, I guess I'm just not going to go anywhere. And the difference is, again, I think, unfortunately, it does come back to money, right? I mean, the West, regardless of what happens in Iran, whether the regime changes or the Islamic system remains, whether they all become friends and the kumyaya, whatever, right? Um, you can't have 92 million people hate you, right? It's just if you have 92 million people hate you, you're not going to be able to sell Fords, right? You're not going to be able to sell
Capitalism
refrigerators
doesn't work very
or
well when 92 million people hate you.
exactly, right? So I think they're very precise for that reason, and I'm very cynical. But I think that's why. Whereas in Gaza, I mean, they don't really care. There's nothing there. Um, you're going to need access to Iranian natural resources, right? Whereas there are no natural resources in Gaza. I mean, it's a very cynical way of looking at it, and it's unfortunate. But I am a cynical person, um, and that's just my reasoning behind it.
Yeah. What else from your experience do you think would be helpful for people to understand and or for you to share so that people can better understand uh, what this experience was like and how it maybe changed you as an individual? Because at this point, you've lived a very well traveled life
Yeah,
and have had experiences that the vast majority of the population will maybe never have. But with this experience, what maybe changed the most about you? And maybe it was nothing. Maybe nothing changed. Maybe
I
this
don't
didn't
think
change at
much
all.
changed. I mean, no, I don't think it changed much. I mean, again, I think I like the fact that I'm more aware that I'm very calm under pressure. Right, I don't freak out. I like I've definitely learned to take a step back
Right.
and just look at the situation and analyze it, just make a rational decision rather than overreact and get stuck in 18 hours of traffic. Right.
I mean, you also
I mean,
lost
everyone.
access to your bank account too. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
a lot of things happen all at once.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of things happen at once. It's alleged that Israel or somebody hacked a couple of government run banks. So my bank account got hacked. Um, and the authorities cut the internet for, I think it was a full 72 hours or maybe even more.
Which is
That
not
was completely
abnormal. This has happened before.
not.
To this extent. Okay, I will tell you actually one thing that did change. And the thing that changed was generational because I am stuck to this device, right? So, and my friends generally thought that I'd go crazy not having internet for like 3 or 4 days. And I somehow like just thought, I'm like, okay, what can I do without the internet, right? So I was like just thinking, I'm like, all right, you know what? I have 37,000 photos on my thing, and let me go ahead and just delete these things. So, span of 4 days, I deleted 130 gigabytes from
Of
my
old photos?
computer of duplicates or of like, blasts. Like, it's like you got like, I don't know, stupid picture of like a shot glass or something or
Right.
whatever, right? So I systematically like set up a chart, and because I mean you can't sit there and just delete all day. So I'll just be like, okay, I deleted this many until this day, and then like an hour later I'll just come back and like do it again.
Right.
And so I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, if I were not Gen X, if I were like maybe even a millennial or late, if I was later than millennial, definitely I would have lost my mind. Right. But just because I was Gen X and like we're the last one that, had the rotary phone and then transitioned to, whatever technology we have now. So I was just like, yeah, that is confirmation right there. So,
So do
I
you
mean, yeah,
I guess like for example, your dad didn't even probably think about it. He was like, "Oh, this is great." We could care less. He just continued painting and hanging out.
yeah,
Yeah.
like that was it. He could, yeah, he could care less.
But
And so internally I could make phone calls.
right.
So I would call his caregiver and, chat with her and chat with him. And so that was fine. And I would, call my friends. Um, so, I mean, yeah, in that sense, it was fine. But like, I mean, I went through, I would say, 6 days of complete isolation, minus hanging out with the cats downstairs. But like my entire building was gone. I mean, it's four families or four units. It was completely empty. My entire street was empty. Um, I mean, it was impressive. Like, I was like, oh, I don't need social interaction. Like, I was perfectly fine. Um, and yeah, I would just go and like play like Civilization 6 or whatever that I had downloaded on my computer, and then I'll take notes about like how it felt, what was the feelings I was going through, which we'll probably talk about that in another episode or something.
Yep.
But and I think my friends abroad were more stressed out than I was because I'd gone radio silent. Um, and I mean, I remember when the internet did come back up, um, I was asleep, so I woke up and there was like I had like 550 or so notifications from Instagram to WhatsApp to iPhone messages. And I was just like, I really liked it when I didn't have notifications. In a way, it was like, I was kind of like, I want to go back to analog.
Right.
Um, Obviously, we're analog, we wouldn't be able to do this. So, it's nice. But that was something that definitely realized that was interesting.
Let's say it's nice to disconnect, but under probably better or different
Better. Yeah.
circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But I mean, uh, like I had my cameras. So it was like, the city was, other than the times where there was smoke from explosions, just taking 10 million cars off the road. It was basically, okay, if Corona also had, or COVID hadn't happened, I probably would have reacted differently, but it was a very similar experience of, social isolation, but in all sense, like the air is completely clean.
Right.
And I mean, I was seeing, so again, I'm in the north of the city, and the Tehran refinery. Well, the refinery is exact southern point of where I am, and generally I can't see it at night, right? But I could just visibly see the damn thing, and I was just like, wow, I hadn't seen that in a long time.
Because there were no cars on the road, therefore no, well, minimal pollution.
Yeah. I mean, it was great. Um, and then there's some parts that are like surreal because like you're standing there staring out your window, and all of a sudden you just like see a drone like fly overhead, and launch a missile and then like disappear. Like
Right.
you're just like, okay, that just happened.
I hope we don't normalize experiencing war in general, but in regards to preparing for everything and always being prepared mentally for something like this. What would be a suggest? Because you talked about being calm and being a calm person and keeping your composure during this time. For those that obviously have never experienced war, which I'd like to think is at this point kind of the majority of the world in regards to a combat zone and or a warlike situation, which is a beautiful thing, but it obviously is picking up around the world. For those that have not experienced it yet, in regards to preparing for this mentally, what would you suggest?
Mm,
Because you mentioned a lot of
dang.
emotions.
I mean, so yeah, I mean, so it was pretty funny. Oh, also sad that I actually on June 12th, I texted my friends, "Hey, I think Israel is going to strike between now and Monday or Tuesday." And all my friends were like, "No, it's not going to happen. Bullshit." Well, it happened the next day, right? Um, and part of that is because, well, I mean, I have a political science background from college, grad school. Also following the news and seeing certain patterns, helps like prepare yourself for that. So I mean, I had canned food on June 12th, right? This I was like, well, I want to shut off my gas valve, right? We don't want that, right? So I was like, I can live off canned beans for 2 weeks. So I did that on June 12th, and on June 13th it happened. So growing up in Southern California with earthquakes, right, has always had that prep mentality because I remember like elementary school, we always like had to, when there was an earthquake alert, we always ducked underneath our desks and then, we walked to the highest ground. A hurricane is just as unpredictable as a missile. I would actually say a missile is more predictable than a hurricane, especially when like they're targeting a set pattern. Um, in terms of preparing for something like that, um, I don't know. I mean, food and water supplies. I drink a lot of water. So I had 3 weeks of water like in the other room.
Right.
So, I mean, so in terms of like nourishment, that was fine. Uh, it would have been helpful if the authorities had sirens. That would have been helpful. No sirens.
And not
Um,
much you can do about that personally.
no, no, not much I could do. But I do remember sirens during the Iran-Iraq War as a child, though. Um, and yeah, I mean, yeah, not much I can do about any of that stuff. But in terms of like me, I just made sure like my dad was fine. I taped up my windows. Um, I had a small generator that because the power did go out a couple of times.
Right.
Um, so just I don't know, regular prep stuff.
So, so regardless of where
Mentally, I
you
don't.
are, it's not a bad idea to get prepared for
Yeah,
anything.
but I don't think mentally you can prepare for it. And obviously, I would probably be speaking in a different tone if God forbid something happened to someone I knew.
Yeah.
But I don't. I literally don't know anyone, even fourth degree removed, that something happened to them. Um, so that for me was like, okay, well, nothing really to worry about. Just sit it out.
I think most
Just
people
like
don't
a
worry about things until it does directly impact them, right? So that's kind of what I say. It's like
yeah,
in preparation for it mentally, something like this occurring in the future, whether it be a hurricane and or obviously a warlike situation. But there's
right.
a mental
Um,
preparation that goes into it as well that you kind of talked about, like being truly calm and collecting yourself and figuring out your
yeah,
next move instead of uh,
freaking out.
freaking out.
That's a freaking out is the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely. As it relates to the current situation in Iran, you and I have talked a little bit about this, but what is from your conversations with those that are still in Iran,
Yeah.
what is the current mindset, mentality, vibe? What's the situation currently?
I mean, without trying to give my opinion, it's not good. It's really not good. Um, I mean, I was talking to one of my friends earlier today, like right before we started talking, and I was like, "How's the situation?" He's like, "Well, we have like anywhere from 2 to 8 hours of blackouts because the power grid can't handle it. Tehran itself is at 40 has 40 degrees Celsius temperatures, which is I would say higher than average for August. So you compound that with no electricity, so your coolers aren't working, and then now you have water outages as well. Um, and the situation is not good um, at all. And really, I I hate saying I feel sorry for them because it's like such a pity kind of move, but um, I just think people deserve. I mean, a country that's so resource rich shouldn't be going through this,
Right.
just flat out. So I hope, and I think even the president mentioned it that I mean they need to figure out the water situation in the next month, or Tehran's going to be left without water. And even he was like, he's like, this is not good for this regime if we run out of water. So
Is the water issue though a result of the war? Or is it just a result of warmer than normal summers and draining of reservoirs and what
yeah,
is okay?
I mean, I'm a climate change activist. So I do believe in man-made climate change, and yeah, I mean, you have a lake in the northwest of the country that's dry for the first time in 13,000 years, right? Um, like I was actually looking at a lake, I'm sorry, a dam, northeast of Tehran, where I used to go fishing with my dad, right? It is completely dry, right? In this situation, yes, man-made climate change has altered the seasons. When I was a child, at the same home that I'm living in, on average, we would get like 3 meters of snow, right? Like at my dad's house, which is in southern Tehran, which is about 8 degrees warmer than the northern Tehran. Um, I mean, you used to at least get like a meter of snow. No snow. I mean, my dad hasn't seen snow in like 6 years, right?
You
The
think it's a
mountains
result
are
of Iran, well, lack thereof of cloud seeding and weather manipulation? Because it's very well known
well,
nowadays that
yeah,
we are manipulating the weather, right?
hmm
All around the world.
yeah,
Um, one specific example, like Middle Eastern country, like
like Dubai
UAE is
or
doing it,
UAE, yeah,
right?
yeah,
The UAE is dramatically cloud seeding to then be
yeah.
able to increase their um, precipitation. And we've obviously been doing a lot in the U.S. So I guess my follow up to that too is that it is a man made thing, or is it more of a, does it seem like a strategic result of removing water from that area
I
in
mean,
order to cause harm to the regime? Which, once again, that is totally like a kind of a conspiracy question slash comment of
yeah,
sorts.
I don't think
But with
I
where the
don't think I'll go
technology
that
is
far.
nowadays, and where we know it is publicly,
Yeah. I think one, I mean, it's a combination of factors. I think man-made climate
you
change
know,
has made that happen. Complete water mismanagement has caused that to happen. Um, Again, I mean, it has the largest coastline in the world, sixth or seventh largest coastline in the world. I mean, you could have built
desalinization plants.
20 desalinization plants
No,
and it would have solved the problem, right? And then, you had
so it's more of a regime
just,
incompetence issue. In your,
yeah, I
or is it
mean, yeah,
in your opinion, is it more of that, or is it more of a climate change issue, or in both?
Well, I think climate change definitely has an aspect of this.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't do anything with. I mean, okay, if they had cloud seeding technology, so maybe if there's no sanctions, they could have bought cloud seeding machines or rockets or whatever they are. Um, but because of sanctions, they can't. The regime really can't buy anything. Um, so they're limited in that sense. But it's also something that I mean, for me to like listen to an elected official, the president of the country, saying, "Oh, we need water. We need to figure this out in a month, or we're screwed." Well, bro, you had like 40 years to figure this out, right? If you hadn't figured it out in 40 years, you're not going to figure it out in a month. I hope they do. I really hope they do. I mean, just the other day, I was talking to one of my friends, and so she's broke because she hasn't been able to get a job in God knows how long. And whatever job she does get, like freelance stuff, the prices have gone up so high, like she can't afford it. And she's texting me, and she's like, "Okay, I have no water, and I haven't had electricity in 7 hours. We haven't had water in 4 days, right?" And I was like, "Well, crap." And and then she was crying because she's like, "I need to give water to my dogs." Right? She has like two large dogs. She's like, "Okay, fine. I don't drink that much water, but my dogs like need water." And I was like, "Well, why don't you just go buy bottled water?" She's like, "I don't have money for bottled water." And I was like, "Would you like me to send you some money?"
Yeah.
And then she's like, "If you would, that'd be great." And I mean, it was like $100, but like even for $100, she was like so grateful. So she went and got bottled water for the dog and sent me pictures. Like, see, I'm buying it for the dogs.
Right.
I'm like, you don't need to send me pictures, right? But like saying stuff like that just like kind of sucks. I mean, it does make you angry. Um, because and I mean we have the same thing in the US too, right? I mean, it's like when the same thing keeps happening over and over and over again and you can't find a solution to it, well, government's job is to protect. Like that's the most basic thing that you have to do. Otherwise, what's the point of a government?
Right.
Right?
It's like paying for an
So
HOA without getting the benefits of an HOA.
yeah.
What is I appreciate our conversations often not just because of the depth that we go into in regards to politics and government and business and
Right.
the economy. Typically, that's that's where a lot of these conversations go. But I think
Yeah.
today's conversation and podcast is hopefully more so been focused on the human element of all of this.
Yeah.
And while people are so fixated by what governments are doing, I think it's
Mhm.
important that people better understand the human aspect and element of all of this too.
And that part was really great. I'll add this that I was other than hearing about one or two incidents, it was great to hear how people help each other. So, like you asked earlier, do people just have a place to go outside Tehran? Well, a lot of people are poor; they don't have anywhere to go, and neighbors open doors to neighbors, right? There were even some things that I saw that, like, until the internet got cut, I mean, like somebody had just built a building or something in some other city, and they're like, posted on Instagram. It's like, all right, I got 30 units. You don't need to pay me rent. You don't need to do anything. It's very basic accommodations, but like the first 30 people that messaged me are welcome to come, and they did. So I mean, and hearing stuff like that was great. Only heard like one or two things about like price gouging, which kind of sucked, but I mean, we get that in the US too, like with hotels and whatnot.
Yeah.
But other than that, like the fact that everyone was, I mean, people were checking up on me that I hadn't even heard of, like in the 4 years that I'd been there. Like, they're like, "Are you okay? Like, do you have anything? Like, do you need anything or whatever?" I'm just like, well, I mean, that was touching.
Right.
Yeah. So that was
Well,
good. Yeah.
is there anything else that you want to add in this episode? I know we've talked a lot about like the emotional side of things to the thoughts and the feelings and the maybe the philosophical element of this as well. Or I know you're a big time writer, so a lot of these thoughts are probably written down and or shared elsewhere. But is there anything else that on today's episode, which is episode 50 by the way, so we finally
Congratulations.
hit number 50. that you'd like to share with those that are listening?
Just I don't like people jumping to conclusions. For example, one of my friends who's in DC, um, massive advocate of many different things like animals, climate, whatever, and then like the Gaza situation. Um, it's really easy to fall into conspiracy theories or misinformation. Um, and she posted something that, you know, an Iranian official was trying to negotiate with the United States about the nuclear deal, and he was killed on the first night of the strikes. So I just told him, I was like, no, he's alive. Like they hit his penthouse. I mean, I drove by and I saw the penthouse like just gone, right? But he survived, right? He was there when they hit him too. But again, he survived. And when I told her that, she's like, "No, you're just anti-Israel," because like she was advocating that Israel didn't want peace between the United States and Iran or the Islamic Republic. And I was like, "Okay, I've seen this with my own eyes, right? That he's alive. Like he went unless they have a double of him, right? Like he went to state funerals, right? I mean, he's been all over state TV." So she's like, "No, like you just don't want to hear the truth." And like I keep on seeing this meme from Keanu Reeves that's like, "I'm done debating like stupid people. Like if you think 1 plus 1 is 5, fine, it's 5. Like I'm just not even going to bother anymore." Um, and that I mean I think that's critical, but it's just like unfortunately that's where not just American society, just everyone's like that. Um, which is really unfortunate. And I mean, I would see things, and I can't really read Farsi that well. I mean, I can like grab headlines, but when I see something, like I send it to a couple of friends that can actually read, right? And I was like, "Is this real or is this fake?" Right? So, for example, somebody in New York had sent me uh, like a video clip of um, Iranians in this one like district of Tehran uh, celebrating and honking their horns, right? Celebrating an Israeli strike. And I was like, well, I'm like, they're wearing jackets, right? I'm like, it's 30 degrees Celsius out there. These people are wearing jackets. Like, this makes absolutely no sense, right? But then the title was like, oh, Iranians celebrating Israel. So I'm like, hold on. So I sent it over to a couple of my friends. I was like, why are they wearing jackets? It's like, oh no, this was like the celebration of when like the Iranian national soccer team like made it to the Asian Cup finals,
Yeah.
or something like whatever, right?
And it, like
With
I
that being
saw
said,
this
isn't
like
that
on
so
so
sad
many
how
feeds.
much misinformation is out there too, right? Like
Yeah,
you have no idea. Like you see a video, I mean, especially with AI nowadays too, we're so easily guided into a certain
yeah,
direction, based
I've
on
I've
what
made
a
that
certain
mistake.
entity wants us to think.
yeah. I mean, I've made that mistake.
I think I posted something on Instagram like 2 weeks ago or something, about how humans and dogs have like an ancient pact or whatever. And my friend Bobby in Houston, he's like, "Bro, like what? It's like this is fake." And I was like, "Well, this is a decent page." It's like, last time I checked, humans didn't have 7 toes, right? So I was like, I looked at it, I was like,
Oh,
But
son of a
due to your
bitch.
emotional attachment to dogs,
dogs. Like I wanted to advocate that, but I didn't pay attention to the fact that this boy had 7 toes,
right?
right? So I was like, oh man, like, all right, I'm gonna like I have to delete this, right? And even like political ones, like
But I'd like to
Like I
believe there's
think
an
once
ancient
like
pact between dogs and humans, 100%,
I think so. Well, maybe wolves. But
regardless of the AI image it shares.
yeah, yeah, but even like political stuff because like I mean I attacked to like the far right and the far left at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And I remember it was something of like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I posted it, and it turns out it was fake. And I was like, son of a bitch. And then there was something like AOC, and I was like, AOC. And then like someone else was like, dude, that's fake. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to stop posting.
It's almost defeating nowadays too, because you get online hoping to find truth and the right
Yeah.
information, and you have to weed through so much BS. When like it seems as though nowadays 90% of what's online is not truly factual and or is misguiding people. So even for me, like presenting the right information or trying to present more factual information and truly staying curious about what's actually going on is difficult when you've got so much BS out there. So in this particular
Yeah.
situation, actually having a friend on the ground in the country in which these things are occurring was incredibly helpful because the times that I was able to message you helped me to decipher and better understand what was true and what was not that was being shared online.
Yeah.
Especially when you
Yeah,
were sharing
there was a lot.
videos of actual bombs going off in front of your town or your home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Um, yeah. And again, like I remember like people were like, you know, they just, oh, this was one that I fell into. There's some rumors that Israel had killed a former Iranian president, Ahmadinejad. I can't say his name. Ahmadinejad. Yeah, I can't. It's too hard. Um, I was like, wow, they're going after like political figures. Like, okay, like military figures, fine. Like, I think military figures are legit targets in a war, right? But then you're going after politicians, and I know how much we all love politicians right now, but still, like, you don't like targeting a former country's president. Like, that's crossing a line, in my opinion, right? Um, and I think international law, but and I mean, this thing spread like wildfire. And again, I sent it to a couple of friends, and they were just like, we don't know if he's alive or dead. And it did take 2 days to confirm that no, he did not die, or he wasn't even targeted. So I don't know. It's hard to. Are you real or are you AI right now?
I don't know. I might be an AI version of myself. I haven't decided yet. Maybe moving forward, I'll just be AI.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
it is so sad that we even have to think about that and question that, right? Like, I mean, we won't know in the next few years. Maybe even now. Maybe even now we don't know. But I mean, you've shared things with me that I'm like, that's AI, or like I'll see something
Yeah.
you'll share, I'm like, that's an AI image, and you're like, what is it?
Yeah.
And I'll share something, you'll be like, that's an AI image, but you won't
Yeah.
really know until you look into it deeper. And I've been pretty good about it and being able to identify what is AI and what's not, but it's getting more and more difficult as the days go on.
I think it's going to be impossible. I give it a couple of years max.
Yeah, I think we're a lot closer to it than we think.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
returning to humanity and connecting with humans at a very real level, in my opinion, is going to become more and more important. So these are the kind of conversations that I appreciate more than anything. I know you've got a lot going on right now as you're kind of figuring out your next steps and where you're going to be and all the above. But I appreciate you coming on and giving a high level. I would consider this kind of a high level understanding of the situation, what was felt, what you experienced, what's going on there now, and trying to keep as best as we possibly can our maybe personal political views out of things, as best as we possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, sometimes you can't, but
sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's very difficult. But
I mean, I would say respect. I mean, respect, and then the Keanu Reeves rule. Someone saying 1+1 is 5. I'm not going to engage.
100%.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening for you. I know it's getting later there. It's probably time for some food.
Happy hour time. Happy hour time.
Well, go enjoy happy hour. Thanks again for the talk and the chat, and we will continue to have these conversations and hopefully get you back on at some point in the near future to dive deeper into certain areas that maybe some of the listeners are interested in hearing more about.
Yeah, cool.
All right.
Look forward to seeing it. All right. Later.
We'll talk soon.